Good morning or good evening, whatever time it is for you. I just had such a deep slumber. I fell asleep at around 7 p.m. last night and woke up today around 5 in the morning. And this is I believe, my third morning here in Las Vegas. And second or third time is just escaping me these days. What I noticed when I woke up is a lot of survival angst, like a lot of these survival fear energies coming up in my body. A lot of frenetic energy, like the stress, just fear, and how those energies can produce those type of scarcity type thoughts. And it was interesting waking up with that energy. It's like there's the inner child, the nervous system, the trauma in our body. It can, when we put it into the unknown, a lot of times those deep kind of fears will come up. That's why God likes to really guide us into the unknown, and our inner being will really pull us into the unknown, because the unknown is the place where we get to heal, because so much of our scarcity programming, our lack-based conditioning gets to come up to be seen by the light. And so I notice every time I go into the unknown, which has basically been 4 straight years now of moving into it in various different ways, every time it takes a new shape, like this new shape of coming to Las Vegas with limited income and no car, a lot more of these programs have a chance to surface. And I've learned different ways to move through this because of the experience I've had. So, for example, this morning I was having those survival type angst, anxiety, fears coming up. And the inclination and the impulse and what the mind tells you to do and what the mind likes to do is to just get up and start taking a bunch of frenetic action, like, okay, gotta do this and this and this. And that can kind of get you somewhere, in a sense. But it feels very, like I said, frenetic. It feels like it's not coming from a place of beingness, of trust, of rootedness. And so I just watched that impulse, that pattern, if you will, that said right when I got up at 5 in the morning, okay, it's time to kind of like this, It's like the nervous system's when we're in survival, it's like that fight or flight, and the nervous system's kind of doing this. And what we want to be doing is this. We want to be in those deep waves, right? That theta state. And so I just watched those movements, and I watched the thoughts. It's like when we're having survival type thoughts, scarcity thoughts, unworthiness, lack, fear-based thoughts. It's really nice to be able to feel those feelings. We want to honor those feelings. We want to be with them. We want to breathe unconditional love into them. We really want to see them fully. But in order to let them really empty out of our body, we have to be willing not to believe the thoughts they're producing. Because a lot of times if we're having those, scarcity and lack-based thoughts that are telling us we have to do this and this to stay alive, and it's just in the fast-moving, like the nervous system's just kind of doing this. If we believe the thoughts that those energies are producing, those energies, they kind of get recycled back into the body. So it's important to start cultivating more and more space from those thoughts, and seeing that you don't have to believe them or buy into them, and that you can actually just let them come up and watch them move. And just watch them and just know these are thoughts being produced by energy in my body from trauma, from this fear-based conditioning we all picked up from this society that likes to deplete us of our power, and says that we have to give our power away to be safe in this world. And so when we start really stepping into our power, a lot of those programs are going to come up to be dissolved by the light. When we step into a higher paradigm, those lower paradigm energies are going to be dissolved, and it's going to take some time. But in order for that to happen, we have to be willing to not believe the lower paradigms type thoughts. We have to see these thoughts are coming up that says, if you don't do this, you're gonna, it's like underneath it all, it's just death, right? It's just this fear of death. And it's just like this base survival, the animal, we're in an animal body. It's like that reptilian part of our brain, our mind, that is just like driving, is that driving force of those thoughts that says, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna be okay, you're not gonna be safe. And so I found it's just really important to be willing to feel those feelings without believing the thoughts and taking any type of external action from that place of stress. Because the thing is, if you take an action from a place of stress and lack, whatever that action manifests, it could even be $1 million. That $1 million is just going to feel like stress and anxiety. And so the point here is, it's like, it's not so much what's happening out here. It's how are you moving internally, and where are you taking action from? Because the real key here is, if you're taking actions from a place of wholeness and beingness and a place of power, then your external is going to reflect that. So just know, if you're taking when you take action from that frenetic, stressed place of, I got to do this to survive, no matter what is happening out here, it's going to feel, you're going to get that reflection in your external. You're going to, that $1 million, if you manifest it somehow from that place of stress, it's going to feel like not enough. It's going to feel stressful. It's going to feel like a huge problem. It's going to just have that reverberation of lack. Whereas, when you're taking action from wholeness, it's going to feel, your external is going to really feel that way too. So I just really wanted to repeat that kind of twice for you guys to hone in on how important it is, where are you taking action from? Because the mind, it doesn't really see that level of it. The mind is just, it's only really noticing the external events. It doesn't quite grasp, hey, it doesn't matter what's going on out here. If we're stressed in here, it doesn't matter what we create from a stressed place in here. It's just gonna feel stressful. The mind doesn't quite see that. But your true self, the true mind, you could say, or your inner being knows that its circumstances really don't matter. Only your state of being matters. And so that's what I knew in a deeper place when I woke up this morning, in that frenetic, anxious place, fearful place. So what I did, instead of listening to the mind that said I needed to do all these things from a place of stress, I just started my day with a beingness meditation, where I just connected to my space of being, where I just really was with the energies of fear and anxiety, or I was with that inner child who was just like, are we safe? We're in a new place. It's a city. We were just in this really rural, naturey place, and now we're in this city. We don't have much money. We don't have a car. That inner child having some legitimate, concerns from his perspective. And as the inner being, as the space of unconditional love, I just sat there and held space for him. And I let him just empty out of his stuff. I let him have all of his scarcity and fear-based thoughts. I let him just kind of throw up all of his programming, of lack, and we're not going to have enough, and we have to do this, we have to, do a lot of activity, we have to, whatever those programs are, money doesn't grow on trees, and you have to really, deplete yourself to be safe and to take care of your needs. I just let him kind of go through that, and I held space. And then I moved from that into this really amazing Travis Elliott yin yoga, spinal twist, detoxifying sequence of asanas. And it just really connected me to the ground of beingness. And it really started to connect me to this place of innate wholeness, or this place of peace, where we feel and we know that our safety is innate. It's like in the fabric of who we are, that we are safe at all times. And we know that deep in our heart when we are connected to the ground of beingness, when we're in a state of beingness, when the mind kind of comes to this place of silence and spaciousness. But to get there, we have to just be willing to feel those energies and feelings without believing all the thoughts that the energies are producing. And that's so much easier said than done, and it takes time. So be easy with yourself. It's not something, we don't want to use this as something we have to get perfect and to be hard on ourselves when we are believing thoughts, when we are going along with the stories, when we feel like we don't have the space to not believe the programs. It's a slow process, At first, maybe these feelings are coming up, and you're only able to digest a little bit of them without believing the thoughts. And then over time, you just find like you can digest a whole bunch of these fear programs without believing what they're telling you. So it's just a movement. Just stay. I would say just stay steady with your practices of meditation and yoga, and just maximum gentleness and kindness to yourself when you are feeling overwhelmed. Because it's when we're feeling overwhelmed, that's when our space begins expanding. That's when the divine is stretching us. So when you have a lot of darkness coming up, a lot of fear, whatever the energies are that are hard for you not to get pulled in by, whatever the energies are that are producing thoughts that just have an overwhelming nature for your mind and your psyche that you just can't help but be pulled by them, it's in those times that actually the greatest space is cultivated. So know that even if that's happening, that's a beautiful thing, because it's like God is stretching you, stretching your spaciousness. So that when you wake up and you're in the unknown, with limited resources and a lot's going on in your body, you can have so much of the space and you can just know, oh, everything's perfect. And you don't feel inclined at all to be pulled by those thoughts of scarcity and lack, because that's just not who you are. And it's just the divine giving you a chance to clear those from your body so you can step into something more expansive, more abundant, more powerful. And so that's all that's happening. It's just a process. So if you're being pulled into the unknown, I say let yourself be pulled. If you're feeling guided to step into something new and scary, I'm telling you, step into it. And I'm getting flooded with goosebumps and grace as I say that. Ooh, yeah, lots and lots of grace. Trust. The unknown is a place we go to connect to trust, to connect to faith, to connect to our innate power, to know ourselves more as the God that we are, the incarnation into form of source energy that we are. So, yeah, the unknown is a great place to be for us light workers and star seeds and just awakening beings. And I'm noticing, whether we like it or not, even people that don't think of themselves as light workers and star seeds and that are on a little bit of a different place in this journey, we're all being thrust into the unknown in one way or another, so that we can deprogram, release conditioning, and learn in a deeper way who we truly are. So I hope this video is helpful. If it resonates with you, if my work has been guiding you, and you feel called and inspired to support me in some way, I have put a link to donate to me in the description box, as well as a link to book a session with me, and another link to join my Patreon page, where I have exclusive videos and podcasts, and I will be adding more to that Patreon page pretty much all the time. So yeah, and I thank you all for being here. Your viewership and subscriptions and comments are much appreciated. Wishing you all the best, and I will see you in the next video. Namaste.